Hey guys, this is a 6th grade standard. We're simply going to be talking about three-dimensional figures and their nets. This is something you're going to see throughout the rest of middle school. You're going to see this in 7th grade, 8th grade as well. We're going to do volume, surface area. There's a lot that stems from this. So let's get into it. Let's talk about a three-dimensional figure such as what we see here. This looks like a piece of pie or cheese or whatever you want to call it. This is what we call a. Let's talk about it. The bottom piece is called a base, right? This part is the base. The base, if you look at it, if I shade it in, I'm going to shade it in very poorly here, but this base is in the shape of a triangle. So that's going to take part of its name. So it's a triangular prism. It could also be considered a triangular solid. Some people don't really know what the difference is between the two, but a prism is basically something that you can see through. So because we could see this back side here of this prism, or this object, it's a prism because we can see through. A solid would be where there'd be no imaginary line here. This blue imaginary line would not exist, so I would not be able to shade that in. That would be a solid. So this is considered a prism. Okay, so let's talk about this triangular prism. So this triangular prism, there's multiple dimensions to it. Okay, you've got length, width, height. Those are your three dimensions. Okay, length. Typically, it's the longer of the two on the base. So this might be length here. And in that case, this would be width. And then the height of the actual figure here would be there. So this would be the height. Now don't get that confused with what's in the pink here. The pink is simply just what it's talking about in terms of the actual what are the parts to the figure, basically is what it's saying. So the lateral face, if you look at that lateral face there, those are basically just the sides of this figure. So let me shade this. Let me see if I can shade that in. Okay, this is a lateral face. Okay, this part here is also a lateral face. And then this part here in the back that you can't see, right? This is also a lateral face. So lateral face is what goes around the object. It's what's around it. It's not including the base on the bottom or the base on top. Now you might be thinking, well, there's a base on top. Yeah. The base on the bottom is a triangle, right? So is the top. The top is also a triangle as well. Let me see if I can shade that as well. So that's the base there. So you've got two bases, and they're both in the shape of a triangle. You've got three lateral faces, basically a small rectangle here, a longer rectangle here, and another one that's in the back that we can only see because it's a prism. We can see through that. So that net figure, that net would look like this. Now you could draw this a lot of different ways. This rectangle here could be up here if you wanted it to. There's, well, maybe not up front, but like this part here could be up here as well. We could have a long, so you could draw this a lot of different ways. But basically, you've got a base here. You've got another base here, which is a triangle. These are triangular shapes. You've got the lateral faces, which is what this is. So this is your lateral face. And your lateral face is comprised of basically three rectangles, a small rectangle, a longer rectangle, and a longer one. Okay, that longer one's going to be in the back here. So what you have to do is you have to take a look at a three-dimensional figure and figure out, okay, what would it look like if I were to take it apart, if I were to just unfold all the parts, kind of like a cardboard box. What would it look like? Okay, so that's kind of what we're talking about today. Also, without going too much further without talking about this, vertex is just kind of like the corner. The edges are like the sides, if you will. So for this figure has a lot of edges. It's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Hopefully I've counted them all correctly. So 8 edges. 8 places where the sides basically come together like that. So this would be the edge where they come together. Okay. So the lateral faces come together at 1, 2, 3 edges. The base comes together. Well, it basically intersects with the lateral face here, here, and here, just like the bottom. So just think of the edges kind of like the edge of the figure, and the vertex is kind of like the corner. Okay. It's not something we'll talk about very much at all. They might ask you a question. You might be asked a question. How many edges are there? How many vertexes are there? Things of that nature. But it's not something we really talk about too much. Lateral faces, more so. We're going to talk about that here in a second. So take a look at this one right here. So this almost looks like a triangular prism, right? The base is down here. So I'm going to write base down here. So the base is a triangular shape. So you would think, well, it's got to be a triangular prism, right? Well, you're close. It is not a triangular prism. It's a triangular pyramid. The difference is that instead of having 2 bases, it only has 1. So this is different than that in that this comes together. It comes up to a single point. When it comes up to a single point, right? Your apex, basically, the top part of this, which is also another word for, I guess, vertex. So this causes it to become a pyramid. Okay, much like this. This is also a pyramid here, but the base is a square. So this is also a This is also a pyramid, but it's not a triangular pyramid. It's a square pyramid. Okay. And you'll see the nets down here. The nets, again, remember, it's just a shape. If you were to completely take it apart or flatten it, kind of like a cardboard box, it would look like this. So you have the square base, and then you have the lateral sides, which are all 4 triangles here. So this is lateral face, lateral face, lateral face, lateral face, or lateral side. Same thing with triangular pyramid. It's got 3 triangles instead of the 4 here for this one. So you see it's a little different. Okay, moving on. A couple more figures. This is, if you take a look, this is actually the same thing as this one right here. It might look different because on this one, you see the base is on the bottom, right? Triangular base. But this base here is not on the bottom, it's on its side. Do you see how it's not? So another way I could have redrawn this to where I would have a triangle on the bottom. Let me see if I can do this. Okay. And then this would go there. So if I were to draw it standing upright, it would look like this. Okay. But basically it's the same thing as that. This is just a little bit more narrower, right? It's not as long. The lengths and the width is not as long. So, but it's the same thing. It's a triangular prism. Because the base is a triangle, so that's why it's in its name. Triangular, and it's a prism instead of a pyramid because there's 2 bases. If it has 2 bases, it's considered a prism. Alright, the net looks like this. Again, this part right here, if you really wanted to, you could put it up here instead. Right? You don't have to have that here. But as long as you have 3, you have it this way or have it this way. As long as you have 3 lateral faces, right? You've got the bottom here, the sides, and then you've got the 2 bases, the bottom or top, or in this case, the front and the back are bases. You've got two of them there. So that's how you know you've got the right net. Here, this is a cube. A cube is basically just a square. And everything's based off of that square. Now, you've got two bases. You've got the base on the bottom, the base on top. That's why it's considered a prism. This is actually a prism. But we just call it a cube because all the sides are the same. This is a rectangular prism because the base is a rectangle. Okay, so that's why it's a rectangular prism. So those are the typical ones that we're going to be talking about in this lesson. There are some slight differences. Sometimes you'll see a cube, instead of having it drawn this way, sometimes it'll look like a staircase. Let's see if I can. Hopefully I've drawn it correctly, but you'll see that in your lesson too. If it looks like a staircase, it's a cube. Okay, they're folding it a little bit differently, but you would have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You would have six squares, and it really doesn't matter how they arrange it. That would still be the net for it. So that's basically it. So that's your three-dimensional figures and nets. Those are the names. Make sure you know the names of them as well. In the share and show portion, if you haven't done that, if you haven't looked at that in your lesson, you'll see all 6 are there, and they're in here as well. Also in your examples, the first one's a triangular prism. The first one's a triangular pyramid, and the second one is a triangular prism. So make sure you see that if it comes up to a single point, it's a pyramid. If it has 2 bases, it's considered a prism. Okay? Alright guys, well good luck, and I'll see you later on Zoom. If you have any questions, let me know. And I'll post another video if you have any questions. God bless. Alright, bye-bye.